Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week for another segment of Healthy Thriving Family After Divorce. And Stephanie, we recently touched on the subject of gray divorce, but for those who may not have seen that episode, can you please explain again what is gray divorce?
Sure. There's so many aspects to it that I thought we'd do a part two. I have so many more things to say about how to help people prepare for such a thing. So basically, gray divorce is what we call divorcing later in life. So it's often after the age of 50, but of course it can be even later than that, 50, 60, and even later. So it's really defined by people who have children who are either almost out of the home or those who have already left. There's so many statistics out there that says that the rate of divorce in this segment of the population is increasing at such an alarming rate that it's really worth having this conversation, even as a part two of this conversation, because it's really important that we try to find positive outcomes, not only for the separating couple, but also for their adult children. And often even there's grandchildren involved who are also very much affected by the split.
So if you're going through this procedure, as an older person as compared to somebody in their younger years, what are some of the things you need to consider, Stephanie?
Sure. And I can imagine some people when they say divorcing after the age of 50, that's not gray divorce, that's not old. The point here is that at this stage, it's just some very different considerations. So if you're before that age, usually you have children in the home, you're trying to figure out, how do I maintain a relationship with my co-parent, my former spouse, because we have to raise children together still. How do we divide our property so that we can start over and start rebuilding that net worth? So by comparison, people, when they're separating later in life, often their priorities are changed. So often they already have children who are out of the house, maybe even in post-secondary education or done their post-secondary education. And most couples at this point are starting to think about retirement, maybe not in the super near future, but they're starting to think more in that line rather than in building their career. So here's a few things that you may want to consider. It's of course not an exhaustive list. So first, estate planning. So when we want to look at how couples will use their accumulated wealth and possibly even pass that on to their children. So sometimes we do some estate planning. Now, I don't mean to create a sense of morbidity right at the age of 50, 60, but it's the point is that when you're divorcing later in life, you want to ensure that you do have somewhat of a focus on estate planning. So secondly, in that same vein, is retirement planning. So these couples will, instead of looking at how they're going to ramp up their career, they're looking at how they're going to be able to retire within a certain amount of time. So that might mean arriving at a settlement plan requires talking with a financial advisor to figure out how the financial sustainability of your proposed settlement might lead you into your future. And lastly, insurance plans. Of course, as the years progress and as you get older, insurance becomes harder and harder to obtain and, of course, more expensive. So there may be insurance plans that you purchased way back when, in your early 20s or 30s even, and you want to make sure that those are preserved and that their future is planned for. Because once, of course, you lose the insurance plans, it's often very hard to get again.
What are some of the things that should be considered if you have adult children and you're going through the separation or divorce at a later age?
So as we've mentioned already, a lot of times these couples have children who are over the age of 18 and they may either be on their own or on their way to being on their own. So a lot of times I have parents who say that they want to wait until after their children have left home before they separate. So I want to just give our audience just another perspective. When all kids have known is a one household family, and then subsequent to their departure, age 18, 20, they see their parents moving into two homes because of a separation or divorce. Often kids have a great sense of loss because that's their childhood home, right? That's their home base, and that's all they've known is one home. And so that familiarity can be ripped from them so quickly. So what's important to do here is, every adult child is going to go through this differently when their parents are separating, but it's really important. As I always say, communication is really important. So it's important to have that open dialogue with your adult children so that they feel supported. Many parents, they think that by waiting until the kids are out of the home that it won't affect them. It's not true. It's just a different way that it's affect them. They just don't have to be raised between two homes.
Stephanie, well, thank you so much for this. It's great information, and there's so much to consider with this. And I know we talked about the trend of how this is an upward trend, so this is not going away anytime soon. So if people are looking for more information or are going through this, what's the best way to reach out and get that information from you, Stephanie?
Sure. On our website, we have tons of information. We've just done a whole revamp of our website. Check it out at Henka Divorce, HENKA, divorce.ca, or you can always call our office 780-875-2234.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Once again, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll chat with you again next week.
Yeah, thanks so much, Stacey.